As usual, when Logan was explaining things, he would display what he was looking at on his computer screen to the others through a hologram. "When I woke up this morning, I was surprised to see an envelope on the floor," said Logan. "To my surprise, there was a small little nano stick inside with a note." The screen had changed, and right now, a scanned version of the note was being displayed to the others. "In this nano stick is some information on one of the big four family members, more specifically its leader known as Trudream. The reason why I have passed this note on to you is that, unfortunately for all of you, Trudream will be arriving in a few days." At the end of the letter, attached to the bottom, was a stamp, and everyone in the room recognized it well. It was the group known as Pure. The files changed once again, and this time they contained reports of the previous visits that Trudream had done. It also informed them of Trudream's true purpose for coming to the base. The fact that every time he visited, few students would be chosen, and soon after their abilities were gone. It also showed that there was a pattern to these things, and how he seemed to visit the second military base more often than the others. Logan said, "I remember you telling me that for some reason, Duke had deliberately wanted Peter to reach a level 4. Not only was Peter originally weak, but he also had no strong family background. Sure, his family would be upset if he was to lose his powers or disappear, but no further steps would be taken, and everyone would soon forget, just like the students before," Logan explained. "And if they find out that Peter has no abilities anymore, they will start asking questions all over again, and it could lead them back to us," Vorden said. "Not just the vampire stuff, but when they find out we were close to Peter, they might start looking into the deaths and more." "We have 2 days," Logan said. Finally, after a long talk, they had come up with a plan that seemed to have a good chance of working. In the VIP area, Logan had set tiny miniature cameras that were close to invisible to the human eye. As the video played, it was clear as day that Layla was the one who had delivered the letter. After meeting with Logan, the boys only had a little time before lunch would end, and they would head to their combat classes. "So who is this Trudream guy? Is he a big deal?" Fex asked. "Trudream is different from the other big families," Vorden said. "For one, most of his family consist of multiple different ability users. This is due to the nature of his ability. The second thing is Trudream had discovered the ability himself later in life. We believe he is the first to have this power. His ability is unique, and we're not even sure if he can pass it on for others to learn or not. The military who are partners with him like to keep it this way. Remember, it's only because of him that so many of those in power chose to not disobey. Anyone who tries to fight back or rebel get their powers taken away. Once your ability gets taken away, there's no way for the body to learn another one, and for some reason, it seems like Trudream's ability stops you from completely producing any more mutant cells for your old ability." After the boys finished talking, it was time for them to split up and head for their combat classes. Before doing so, Peter changed his number from an ability level of 2 to a 3. This way, Bones could see he was progressing and report back to Duke. Fex and Quinn weren't really in the mood to practice all out. They were too busy thinking about the plan they had to initiate. In the middle of their practice, Fex asked Quinn a question. "Hey, that ghoul, he evolved, right? So I'm guessing you sorted everything out. Do you know what he evolved into?" "He's something called a white. Well, a white strength is mirrored by his creator strength, and his creator has to be a leader," Fex explained. Although Fex didn't say anything else, he had kept a few things to himself. Whites were known to only follow one person. Otherwise, their natural nature would take over and they would go on a rampage. Many of them had to be destroyed once their masters had been slain, otherwise they would attack everyone in sight. Earlier Fex mentioned there being family leaders, and then you mentioned that I was one as well. What does he mean by that? The vampires are controlled by a council. The council is split up into 13 different leaders and a vampire king or queen. These are also what are known as families. When you created Peter and made your family name, you automatically became a member of the council. But then, why would they be after me? Quinn asked. And wouldn't this mean I would be safe if they found out about Peter? Quinn, the vampire race like to seem like they are working together, but they are just as cruel and power-hungry as humans. When the vampire king or queen decides to go into eternal slumber, then a new king shall be selected from one of the 13 leaders. While the current king or queen is still present, they must do as they say. But once they disappear, it will turn into a cruel battleground. You are a leader in name only. A shortcut was created due to the system. A lowly vampire like you is too weak. To become a vampire leader, one at least must have the rank of a vampire lord. The ranks are as follows. You have a vampire, vampire noble, a vampire knight, a vampire lord, and finally, the vampire king or queen. There are also the subclasses such as Peter within these ranks, but they can never rise above their leaders or creators. Each vampire has a basic set of skills. However, the 13 different families are each divided into different abilities they have. This does not mean they are all related by blood. However, before learning an ability, a vampire must go through a blood ritual with that family, meaning they can never go against them. Only then will they teach that vampire their ability. An example of this is the sanguineous family that Fex is a part of, who can control string. Still, this does not mean a vampire cannot learn an ability outside of the 13, but if they chose to do this, they will never be promoted within the ranks of the family they have chosen to follow. Wait, Quinn said. Does that mean my ability belongs to one of the 13? Your shadow ability is not part of the 13 families, the system replied. But I warn you to not use your ability in front of others. The only thing I can say for now is your ability carries history for the vampires that they wish to forget. They would only target you more. Over at the elemental training hall, they too were doing the same lessons as usual, and as lessons were about to finish, they had free time to do what they wanted, and once again, Bones had come over with his 2 men and confronted Peter. "Peter!" Bones shouted. "What do you say to one more sparring match before tomorrow, huh?" Peter's hands had gripped and wrapped around Bones' mouth, his fingers placed at the side of his jaw. Bones immediately retaliated, trying to create a pillar of earth from below Peter's feet. As soon as Peter had felt the slightest bit of vibration from below, he knew what was coming. But he didn't move. He waited for the pillar to rise while continuing to hold on to Bones. Then, at the last second, as the pillar rose from below, Peter stepped back and pulled Bones into his pillar, allowing it to hit him right in the chin. Now standing by Peter's side was Vorden. "Look, just ignore them. They're trash, right? They're not worth our time," Vorden argued. "Huh, you're right about that," Peter said as he took off with Vorden out of the training center. As Vorden and Peter were outside, Vorden decided it was best if they headed back to the dorm room for now and stayed there. Finally, Quinn had returned from his class, and the first thing Vorden did was ask if the 2 of them could speak alone in private. Vorden had explained what had happened today in the training hall, and he also told him his worries about Sunday when he was to meet Trudream. "I know I have mentioned it before," said Vorden. "Trying to go through with this plan, I think, is riskier than getting rid of Peter," Vorden said. "I think we can do Peter justice when we leave school in 2 years. We'll look after his family. We can make our faction, and the money we earn from being travelers, we will send them a portion each month." "I, for one, don't think this is a good idea," the system said. "First, you will be unable to kill Peter even if you decide to go through with this. You would have to stand by as you watch someone you know kill Peter, and although he is loyal to you, he would not just stand there without putting up a fight. The second thing goes to the matter we spoke of before. You were lucky Peter turned into a white. It is quite a powerful ally to have. Right now, you need to gather and keep all the power you can get. It's not a question of if the vampires will come, Quinn, it's when." Suddenly, as these thoughts filled Quinn's mind, a strange feeling came over him once again. It was the family connection from the blood ritual. "I can't do it, Vorden," Quinn said. "He's family now, and so are you and the others." "All right, Quinn, we'll stick with the plan." The next day it was the weekend, so the group had no classes for the day. Instead, they met in Logan's room once more. Each of them went over the details of their plan, while Logan also handed each a strange, round, circular pin to be put on their clothes. It looked similar to a button and blended well into their uniform. There was also a separate circular, small speaker that was to be placed in the ear. These 2 items were a set that was to be used to communicate with each other. The only person who didn't receive one was Peter, as they knew he would be taken away. However, a microphone was once again installed into his watch so they could hear everything that was happening. After a good night's rest, it was finally Sunday, the day Trudream would finally arrive at the school.
Hi, Quinn here. Wondering what happens next? If you want to jump the queue and unleash all episodes, click on the link here and install the Pocket FM app.